Can I ask a question? Earlier on you touched on a point, and you said we were getting like golden retrievers. What were you meaning? Because I've already just sent some notes in on a judging idea.
Well,
I mentioned that myself, so I wondered what your point was.
You're going to be in trouble again.
yes, I'm going to be in trouble again. I think that we have had in the fairly recent past, how long is the fairly recent past? 20 years. We had one or two Goldens came into the breed, and they are a cross I'm frightened of. They have some very good things. They always have tender mouths. You very seldom get a Golden that will bite a bird. So that's very much to their benefit. But I'm very frightened of cataract from them. It slightly alters the temperament, so that you're dealing with something just a little bit different. And they have got in. I discovered one cross purely by chance, and the Kennel Club cancelled an awful lot of them, but unfortunately the chap had been using a Golden Retriever dog for some time on his bitches, and they got through. It was a keeper. And they got through, and it was only the fact that the pedigree didn't quite fit that allowed the Kennel Club to rumble what had happened. But they did get in some time ago, and there was a slight change in temperament. There was a slight change in dealing with them, and I always a little bit frightened of cataract, because that was a disease we didn't have much. We had PRA, and we didn't have much cataract, and I think that there might have been a bit of cataract came in. But one of the things that I didn't like about them, and you still occasionally see it, was it had altered their style of waterwork. Because a Golden Retriever's waterwork, as in any other retriever, is very, very different. There are only two dogs which work alike in water, and that's one's the Chesapeake and the other is the Labrador. And of the two, I'm going to say the Chesapeake, I think, is the better. But they are quite different with the Golden, and if you watch a mixed trial, you'll see, I had a judge remarked on it this year to me, who'd been judging a trial, a mixed trial, and it'd been a lot of water work, and she remarked that the Goldens deal with the water completely differently. They get the bird, yes, but you're dealing with a different dog. And I'm a Golden Retriever. I recommend Goldens a lot to people, because I recommend the Golden to people with certain temperaments. Guns with certain temperaments, they suit a lot of people better than they suit the Labrador, because they're a much easier dog, much easier. A keen Labrador is a very... I can tell you what the difference is, and I know that I'm going to possibly tread on toes. You better shut your ears, put cotton wool in your ears, all Golden Retriever breeders, but the difference is this, that the Labrador works, particularly in water, because it is absolutely demented about work. And as soon as it gets working, it thinks of nothing else. And it's not working exactly to please its owner, it's working because it likes work. And it pleases its owner because it discovers that the quicker it brings the bird back, the quicker they go on to the next one. But the Golden Retriever works because it loves its owner and it wants to please. And it will do anything to please its owner, and it makes it much easier for the gun, who is usually, I mean, an awful lot, I'm sure none of us here are, but an awful lot of guns, as we know, don't we, are terribly stupid people with their dogs. They're hopeless. They're absolutely hopeless. I mean, they'll forget they've got a dog with them and walk about picking their own birds. Well, do that with a Labrador. The Labrador says, right, if they're going to walk about picking up everything and forget they've got a dog, or peg me down and leave me by the cartridge bag, then I'm going to go off and do it myself. But a Golden is working to please his owner, and there's a very big difference in that. The difference in waterwork is a funny one, because the Labrador says, oh, And it goes plunging in very often, absolutely I mean, Mrs. Wormel used to get so cross with them and mark them right down when they hit the water with a great splash and go splashing in, and every duck for miles round feels the shock waves and goes flying out, and they grab the bird and sink it and probably bite it and come flying back. And they love their water work. And if you can settle them down, they make marvellous water dogs, but you have to settle them. Now, the golden retriever will go at its pace, a nice pace, and it empties the water at exactly the same pace as it's gone down the bank, and it swims across at the same pace. And if the bird is lying on the water, near the opposite bank, this is where I'm going to get into trouble, but I've judged many golden retriever trials, they swim straight on. And they'll climb out on the far bank, and they'll put the bird down and shake, and then they'll pick the bird up and they'll look to see if they can come round. And if they can come round, they'll come round, and if they can't, they'll come back again. And watching them from the side is very interesting if you're watching them cross water. The dog that swims absolutely in the direct line is the Chesapeake. He goes in, he has his eye on that bird, and he swims like a ruler, absolutely straight out to his bird, and he picks it, and he turns round and he comes back, and he doesn't make a double line across the water. He comes back on his own line, as straight as a die. The Labrador goes out, and as it sees its bird within reach, it'll start almost to turn in the water. It's so keen to get back. And it turns and comes back on a parallel line about that wide apart. It's interesting to watch this in a mixed water test. And the Goldens and the well, I'm not going to talk about the flatcoats, they're different again. The Golden swims beautifully, and it swims at the same pace it goes in, rather slowly. And it may turn, but if it does turn, it turns in a big circle and comes back again. But if it can, it'll climb out on the other bank. They're a very funny difference in the breeds. The curly coat that I had, I didn't like them because they swam with their neck and shoulders out of the water, like the Loch Ness Monster. And the consequence was that if anything went wrong, their hind legs went down and they started to swim backwards. I got rid of them because of that, because it was a dangerous thing. We used to lose otterhounds that way. If their hind legs went down, they had weak hind legs and they went down, they would actually start doing that. And then as soon as they splash the water in their face, they go further back, and eventually somebody has to go in and get them out. And so therefore I got rid of the curlies because of that. The flat coat is inclined to swim with its head and neck out. Again, it's not a thing I like very much.